there are people in the room who are going to vote for Trump. And one of the reasons they're going to vote for Trump is because they think that people like your parents should have been caught right away and sent back home, right? Which is what happens around the world.
A lot of politicians are talking about illegal immigrants in a certain way, saying they have bad genes. I was wondering, how that makes you feel as someone whose parents were illegal immigrants.
Because presumably you have bad genes too. Can you stand up? People need to see you're a white guy. So this is important. As we're having this conversation, recognize that not all undocumented peoples are black and brown. All right, you can sit down, bro. All right. Where'd your mom come from? The first one to go is the first one that really wants it. That's who you want. The people I want in this class are the people who really want to be in this class. There are people who are saying that, but that's never going to happen, man. That will not. That's like the radical fringe of the people who are talking about these issues, and that's just never going to happen, man. Now we're going to talk about unauthorized immigration. Okay, we can say illegal. So let me just say something here. We could call it illegal immigration. It's not generally what we call it. Those of us who are studying it, we often talk about it as undocumented or unauthorized and that illegal. I have just a personal thing about illegal immigration because for me, I can't not see the United States from the perspective of native peoples in the United States, right? So that means I'm illegal. We're all illegal, really, unless we're native. And so I just have a thing about that. Unauthorized is a term that I really like that I use a lot.
Can I ask a question really quick? Are these statistics talking about unauthorized immigrants in general? Does this include, because I think what most people think of when they think unauthorized immigrants is people who are crossing the border.
Yep.
But it also includes people with unexpired visas.
Expired visas.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry, that's what I meant.
Yep. It includes all those folks. People who came here to study and they never went back home, which may be some people in this class who may just kind of overextend their visa and be like, whatever, I'm not going back home. Okay, at that moment in time, you become an unauthorized, illegal, or undocumented immigrant, right? So here in the United States, this is where people are coming from. And so, okay, just to give you a sense of that people from all over, right? Mexico, so on the right are countries. So you notice Mexico is on there twice because the largest sending country is Mexico, which makes sense because it's right on the border. But, look at India, Guatemala, Honduras, Okay, Yasmeen, your family's Honduran, right?
Yeah.
Did your parents come here legally or without documentation?
They came here illegally. They had to cross the border.
They crossed the border where? In Mexico?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They had to walk in the desert, take rafts and big bodies of water. Mm-hmm. I know my parents always tell me the stories of how they came here. They had blisters in their feet from walking in the desert. It was cold nights, hot days. They didn't have water, food.
Did they get caught at all and get sent back, or did they make it on their first try?
So my mom made it on her first try, and then my dad almost got caught, but he heard when the guards were coming to look for him, and he was like, no, if I'm gonna go now, I'm only doing this one time. I'm not crossing the border a second time. So he started running and ran away from them, and then they found someone on the road, someone stopped for them. Mm-hmm. And at first they were scared because they thought it was immigration, but they were just trying to help. They told him, just get in the back of my truck. They put a tarp on top of them, and then they took them to Houston. Mm-hmm.
Do you either of you have any questions for? So listen, this is your classmate whose parents came here without documentation and crossed the border, right? I mean, you have a story, right? She has a story. So you hear all the conversation about illegal immigrants, and we're gonna round them up and send them home. We're going to do whatever. It's like, okay, well, do either of you have any questions for her?
How old were your parents when they came here?
My mom was 18 and my dad was 19.
Have you ever asked, like, how was the process of getting, like, their papers back in their home country?
Wait, what do you mean, get their papers?
Like, get a visa to, like,
Here?
travel. No, back in Honduras. Like, how was the process to get a visa in Honduras to travel back here?
So it's difficult to just like get a visa. A lot of times visas are just like given to like older citizens who like they have none of their sons or daughters are back in Honduras. So like they go to like the consul and like just tell them that they're here alone, can't support themselves. So visas are often like just given to older citizens. So it's harder to get a citizen, like they'd be like, oh, like you're good to like work here. Like, why do you want to go to the United States?
Mm-hmm. And what were they doing back in Honduras?
So my mom used to like help her mom make bread and go sell it like in the los centros comerciales, like, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So they came here really for a better
life.
And things were getting violent in Honduras.
Yeah, and they both came from like poor families.
Yeah.
So like they didn't have anything. So like, and my dad is the second oldest one, so he was just very motivated to come to the United States to be able to, give back to his mom, provide like a better house, get her out of like where she was living.
So I have a question then. When you hear all of these conversations, but anyway, by the way, so there are a lot of people here there are people in the room who are going to vote for Trump. And one of the reasons they're going to vote for Trump is because they think that people like your parents should have been caught right away and sent back home, right? Which is what happens around the world, right? I mean, clearly, this is the nature of it. The Hondurans send Guatemalans back. This is how it operates, right? We have borders. And is it, just out of kind of curiosity, it's big for you to tell your story. This is a big story. You're here because they came, right? And now you're in the classroom and you're a student like everybody else. It's like, how is that for you?
Not to brag, but I'm a first gen too. Like my parents never went to school.
Did they go to high school?
No.
They didn't go to high school?
No.
So they're campesinos?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. So my dad learned how to write because I think one of his grandpa gave him like a Bible. So he started using that to like write on like scratches of paper he could find or something like on the ground and use it to like start like writing. But he never attended school. One, because in the village that my dad's from, there was no school yet at the time. Now it's like barely improving. Like there's one like grade school. But other than that, no. And like only like rich families go to like higher education.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, this is Honduras, By the way, does anyone have a question for Yasmeen? Anyone want to ask a question? Is there a question on the stream, maybe?
A lot of politicians are talking about illegal immigrants in a certain way, saying they have bad genes, some of them at least, and saying things like poisoning the blood of the country. I was wondering, how that makes you feel as someone whose parents were illegal immigrants.
Because presumably you have bad genes too.
Yeah, I've been seeing also like, I saw a campaign, like an ad, and it was just like, it was like immigrants, all they know how to do is like reproduce, like just have kids upon kids upon kids.
How many kids do your parents have?
My parents only have 3, including
All right,
me.
okay.
So yeah,
That's
no.
fair.
But my mom has 12 siblings and my dad has 10.
Did any of them come here?
Oh yeah, because so since my dad was the first one to get here, he helped a lot of his siblings.
Yeah, that's what happens.
Yeah, and my mom also helped them too.
Yeah.
I want to know your thoughts. So Trump has gone on record and said that once he gets into office, he will invoke the Alien Enemies Act of 1798, which will give him the ability to deport any non-citizens that are of what they define as an enemy nation. And he says he wants to perform the largest mass deportation that the country's ever seen. And I want to know your thoughts on that.
The largest mass deportation the world has ever seen. Go ahead, my friend. Pontificate on that.
Well, I mean, I think it's very sad that this is what Trump wants to do because, well, I could talk based on my parents' experience because sometimes my parents talk about how they don't see themselves returning back to their country after being here for like almost 20 years. Like they have established like their work. They have like, thank God my parents have been able to like buy land here, have a house. Like, they're established citizens now here. So now imagine just like being taken or like having that all taken away and having to go back to your country where like they haven't been investing back in their country.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So like they wouldn't have all the resources that they have here, have it back there. So it would just be like a drastic change that like my parents say they don't know like what they would do if that's the case, like if it were to happen.
But in fairness though, that what happens is if you are doing something outside of the boundaries of legality, right? Without documentation and so on, at some point in time, it doesn't mean that you get a free pass forever, because at some point in time, man, when the hammer comes down, the hammer comes down.
Hi, my parents were also illegal immigrants. They used to be illegal immigrants. I just wanted to ask, what do your parents do now, like for work?
So my dad owns like a trucking company, and then my mom is a stay-at-home wife because my dad provides everything, like he's able to now.
So he's a small business owner.
Mm-hmm.
Props to your dad, man. Yeah. Wait, and it's the same with you. You were born here though?
Yeah, I was born here. They immigrated from their countries.
Where'd they come from?
My dad came from Dominican Republic and my mom came from Colombia.
From Colombia. And they met here?
They met in West New York.
And they also crossed over in Mexico?
My dad took a flight over here and just overstayed his visa.
Yeah, got you. It's crazy, right? How many people do you meet? How many, the two of you? Anybody else, by the way, whose parents were undocumented? Unauthorized? Dude, you? Also? From where? Wait. Can you give him the microphone? Wait, I just want to point out that can you stand up? People need to see you're a white guy. So that this is important. As we're having this conversation, recognize that not all undocumented peoples are black and brown. All right, you can sit down, bro. All right. Where'd your mom come from?
My mom's from Ireland.
Oh, she overstayed a visa?
Yeah.
Is she a resident now?
She has a green card status,
Okay.
but she's not like a citizen or anything.
Yeah, okay, so she got that. Huh. Dude. Anybody else? Like, damn. Dude, same with you? Both parents? From El Salvador? Both parents? Damn. All right. So I think the thing is, as we're going to move away from the undocumented conversation in a hot minute, but recognize that there are a lot of people that we know and that all of us at some level, people are connected to who have an experience, right? And by the way, I'm going to talk about something else in a way that there's a lot of people who your family's got here on a loophole. So that never should have happened. How is it for you to hear all of the hate that's directed at, and for any of you, right? The hate that's directed at like
I think it's very hurtful because I feel like a lot of like the allegations that are made are based on stereotypes that like white people have created for immigrants. Like, yeah, they're drug dealers. They're coming to take over like our opportunities when it was never the case. I feel like immigrants just might have a smarter tactic to like, getting up there when they have the resources that they need to prosper.
When you think about it, if you think about what it takes to get here, and like, first off, who comes? The people who are coming are generally the people who have a real desire for something, right? If you don't have a desire, you're just going to be back home. You're not going to, you know what I mean? Like, why would you go? Just stay back home and chill out. So we see this a lot with people who migrate all over the world, not just to here, but in lots of different places. It's really so many of the go-getters. And so, like you talk about your parents' families. It's like the first one to go is the first one that really wants it. You know, like, well, that's who you want. That's, you know, like the people I want in this class are the people who really want to be in this class. If you're just taking it because you need the credits, like, I don't want you in the class, man. Like, you want people who really want it. Bro, how is it for you to hear all of the, just really the rhetoric, you know, the anger at your parents, and like at your parents and your parents, you know, and your mom, bro. Although we don't direct it at your mom. We because she's white, so we will that's not true, actually, but all right, go ahead, bro.
Is this on? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely weird when you think of it like in the personal way. Like when I think of my parents, it's definitely like kind of hurtful. But at the same time, I understand that it's like no one would talk about it. Because, I mean, no one in my family who's immigrated has done anything bad like they say and they direct towards people like my parents. But there's kind of nothing to say about the people who do good things. You know, everyone wants to kind of like point out the bad, and of course that's what you're going to hear most. So after because I'm from the US, so I was born here and I grew up here. So after all this time, to me, I've kind of just become numb to it. Like, it's not that big a deal.
It's it's just a thing that you deal with.
I've been going through like my whole life that I know when they're talking bad about these people, at some point they were talking about my family. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a thing, you know. For me, I know enough people who are undocumented, unauthorized, illegal, whatever, that it's a complex, it's very complex, you know.
I was going to say that recently, kind of on the conservative side, people, like politicians, have been talking about sending back people who have birthright citizenship to where their parents were from.
Right.
But a lot of you guys don't have, I guess for anyone with undocumented parents, a lot of you guys don't really have, some people don't have strong ties to their home country and can't just go there seamlessly and live there. So I was wondering your opinion about birthright citizenship, like being up for discussion.
Can you, that's a really cool question. Do you know what birthright citizenship is?
Yeah, even if your parents aren't citizens, you're a citizen because you were born here.
Yeah, you're born here. And different countries have different ways of doing it. Like, I think in Germany, Arnica, you can confirm this. I think, like, in certain countries, you have to have been an immigrant. You have to have been living there for 5 years, let's say, right, before you can get birthright citizenship. But every countries do it differently.
I think there are loads of, like, military kids who have had, like, parents stationed in other countries, and then they were born in some random country, so then they have dual citizenship.
Some people do, but most don't. So do you have any thoughts about birthright citizenship? Because this is a thing. It's a question, like, how do you... Like, I know people, does anybody in here have parents who came to the U.S. when your mother was pregnant just to have you, so you would get citizenship in the U.S., and then they went back home? Kind of half did? Yeah. How many of you had that? Yeah? Because it's like, okay, so you got to wonder, like, wait, hang on, man, that's not fair. Like, is that fair? It's like, come on, just because you have the money, you fly into Miami, hang out at Disneyland for a month, you have your child in Orlando at the local hospital, and you go back home. It's like, yeah, what's up with that? You know, so
my cousin actually did that. She got pregnant, and then she came to New York. She had her baby, so now her baby's a U.S. citizen, but then she went right back after.
So the question that comes from the class is like, wait, so there's a conversation about stopping that first off, which I think is a fair conversation, because a lot of countries don't have birthright citizenship, right? And so that's a fair conversation to be like, yeah, we're going to cut that off. But there's also another conversation, which you raised, that people are saying we're going to take people who have citizenship by birthright and actually send them home. There are people who are saying that, but that's never going to happen, man. That will not. That's like the radical fringe of the people who are talking about these issues, and that's just never going to happen, man. Mark my words, but never say never. So I don't know.
This is something that I heard about like a few years ago, and I haven't seen anything since. So I was wondering what anyone's opinions were on this. But the idea that immigration courts don't have enough like judges to handle all the cases coming through.
Yeah.
So maybe if there were more immigration judges or like more courts that were able to handle those cases, would that, like, for your family, would they have considered the legal option a little bit more, or would that have still been out of the question?
So if there were more active courts, right? Would they have kind of early on and tried to take the legal option, or?
I would say no, just because, like I mentioned, they came from poor families, so they barely had any money. Like, if I were to sit here and tell you, like, the kinds of resources my parents used, like, it was just, like, they were bottom line poverty. So I don't think even if there were more immigration courts, they would have been able to afford, because court, like, fines and all that, it's very expensive. Rather than, like, so, like, to come, they contract this, I know it's called coyote. I don't know how to say it in English.
Coyotes.
Yeah, so they're like people who are contracted to take you. And it's like it wouldn't be as expensive as like going through the whole process with like immigration.
No, listen, man, it's a lot of money. It's like you're going to pay a coyote like $6,000 to $8,000, maybe $10,000 to get you across the border. And that's pretty intense. And it's still dangerous, you know. Chicken pork adobo said, in the Philippines, we have a culture of shaming Filipino. Yeah. Does anyone want to answer this? Do you feel the shaming of illegal immigrants? Do you feel shame?
No, I don't feel shamed. When I do hear like the comments that like conservatives have about like immigrants, yeah, I do feel like, oh, okay, like this falls for me too. But I walk proudly wherever I have to walk, you know, like.
Yeah. It's not just conservatives, by the way, because everyone's on board, really. Even liberals are. I mean, liberals, there is a sector of people that are saying, hey, we should give everyone who's here, let's give them residency, right? Okay, that's cool. So we now got 11 million people who are residents. And then what are we going to have? We'll have 11 million more. You know what I mean? Crossing over the border. You got at some point you got to say no, right? So this is like, So anyway, chicken pork adobo from Australia. Yeah, we have the similar thing, I think. Do you have that? Bro, do you feel the shame? Do you feel shamed? You don't really, because you're children, right? Do your parents feel shame? Did they, when you were younger, before they had residency and citizenship and so on? Do you think?
I wouldn't say shamed. I would just feel like they felt out of place for a long time.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they couldn't fit in. They didn't know the language. Like.
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard, bro. You have
As a person who's also from Texas, I know a lot of people in Texas, a lot of Mexicans. They may seem homogenous, but there's a conflict between those who came in legally and illegally. And it's not just Philippines. I can confidently say it's also the case in states as well, especially amongst the same ethnicity.
Totally. Yeah. No, totally. Yeah. No, when I was down on the border, and I know this anyway, you know, if you've gone through all the steps to do it legally, so to speak, follow the steps, and then someone just like hops over you, it's like, come on, man. And you're still waiting in line because now you're waiting for your paperwork, and someone just like comes through. Like when Biden offered all of these Venezuelan and Haitian immigrants, like said, like go to the DMV and get your driver's license. And people are like, what the hell? What's that, man? I've been waiting 8 years to get a driver's license, and now you're just gonna let them go get a driver's license? So, yeah, that's kind of that was pretty messed up, man. So. That's the kind of stuff that's a problem.